All right, now the other part of this video is making this sign out front. Now I didn't put the image of the ground to work off of in my model. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So I wonder if I add an image and scale it to the size of our building that I can find out where that sign is on the ground. Let me look and see what I can come up with. Okay, there's two signs at each entrance, one here and one here. They're copies of each other. All right. Now I don't have a photo that shows where these are. All right, and this is basically the photo I used for the roof, except I didn't get enough down here to grab where these signs were. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Windows Shift S, and I am simply going to clip off this part of the image like this. All right, then I'm going to bring this into GIMP. And I am going to edit, paste as new image. And then I'm going to file, export as, and this doesn't have to be in, because once I'm done with it, I'm going to delete it out of my Blender file. All right. Let's go to Windows, Prototypes. Fairfield. And let's save this as, whoops. Sign locate PNG. Okay. Close out GIMP. Don't need it anymore. Alright, and I don't need the appraiser's website anymore, at least for now. Alright, minimize that. Now, I'm going to go to -T, whoops, -T for top down, and I am going to Shift A and add an image reference. And I'm going to go over here to prototypes again. And sign locate, there we go, and I'm going to align that with a view. Okay, now I need to scale it so it matches our building as close as we can. Rotate this. Move it. Okay, scale, bring that in a little bit. Move. Scale. Let me turn ghost on here. Oops. There we go. Move. Scale. Move. It's pretty close. Okay. it added it to where I had my 3D cursor, which is okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to drop this to the ground. So that's going to be, let's object apply rotation and scale. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Control Z. Let's undo that. Apply scale. There we go. And then for Z, we're going to make that 0. Drop it down to the ground. Tilde T for top view. Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit off. But anyway, this is about where my sign's gonna be. Okay. It's kind of hard to, sometimes kind of hard to match perfectly because the nadir of this photo is over to the right. Nadir being the point directly above the photo of where the camera being directly above is where it's perpendicular to the ground. All right. So in my 3D drawing, I'm straight down, whereas the photo's off to the right a little bit, looking left a little bit, or it's looking straight down, but since this is off nadir. So these are going to be our locations of our sign. I'm going to add in a cube, Shift A, Mesh, Cube. All right, and that's right up here. And then I'm going to move that down to where this sign is. Okay, and then I'm going to Shift D and copy that and move it over to this location. All right, that way I have some eyeballs of where that sign's going to be. Okay, kind of like that. All right, now I'm going to turn off the image, the empty right now that's being used for the photo. So that's going to be the location of my two signs. All right. So next is to make a sign. All right, now I'm going to select this cube right here. And I'm going to Shift S, move my 3D cursor to that location. Then I'm going to hit period to focus in on that object. All right. Now the cube is under the ground by a foot. Doesn't really matter because we're not really going to use the cube. But what I want to do is, we have the shape of the sign off of the logo, right? So I want to add in my logo, the image that we're going to use for the logo. I'm going to use it kind of twice. I'm going to use it to make the shape of the sign, and then we're going to actually use the image itself as the sign itself. Does that make sense? The lighted part of the sign. All right, so I'm going to Shift A. First, let's see. Tilde T is the top, so I want the right side. So tilde R. So now we're looking, yeah, that's the cube in the back. That's that second cube. We don't need that right now. All right, so this is the orientation of the sign. Now I want to bring in that image. So I'm going to Shift A, image, reference. And then here's the sign, or the image we're going to use for it. Except thought I had a PNG of that. Oh, I'm in prototypes, texture. It's around here somewhere. There it is, right there. It's PNG. So I'm going to select that and bring it into. Wow, it's big. Okay. And we're going to scale that down. And let's turn on our photo just to kind of get a dimension so that it looks like it comes from here to here. All right. So it's almost the size. So let's scale it a little bit more. Let's scale it up a little bit. So I'm looking at the red part because that's the edge of the sign. So I think that right there is good. So let's GZ, move that up. So that sign is going to be kind of like that. Is that about the right size? Yeah, that looks okay. Yeah. All right, now we're using this as an image. Remember how we did the letters in the sign? Okay. I'm going to make the exterior, the part outside of the sign, that same way. Okay, except I don't have to do each individual letter because we're going to actually use this image and put it on our texture itself for the sign. All right, we're going to use this sign. All right, but I want the shape so I can create a model of the shape. You guys with me? All right. So with that selected, I'm going to Shift S and move my cursor to that location. And then I'm going to tilde R because I'm looking right. And I'm going to zoom in. And now I am going to Shift A and I'm going to add a mesh single vertex. And then I'm going to escape. Let me turn on vertex. Then I'm going to G, and I'm going to move that right down here. Okay. Then I'm going to extrude that in the Z direction until it matches here. Okay. Now, yeah. And then extrude to there. Extrude Z till it's right here. Okay. Trying to figure out what I could make an arc. Oh, it's a simple model. We don't need to do that. Let's just guess. Extrude. There's no reason to make this so complicated. It's not that big. It's not that important of a feature. That right there probably just drove a bunch of you guys crazy, didn't it? So I'm just trying to estimate the sign and why am I not following the blue line? Because I think there's a white border around it. That's why I'm doing it. All right. Like I said, I could use an arc and draw an arc between 2 points. If I wanted to. But I don't want to. Is that okay? Alright. Just doing a series of extrudes, and then if I want it to go straight down, I'm doing E and then the axis that I want to do it on. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this line a little different. I'm going to select these two vertices, hit F to get a line, and then I am going to Control R, loop cut, and I'm going to add in some vertices. Okay, and then I'm going to select them in pairs. I could have done that up here too, and I still might. Okay, and then I'm going to GZ, move those down to here. Select these two, GZ, and then select these two, GZ, and then let's select all three of these to begin with, GZ, drop these down here, and then this last one, GZ, drop that down there. Alright, now I'm going to redo this top one. So I'm going to select all these, delete those, and then from this point to this point, actually we're going to take this and we're going to G, and we're going to move that over to here. Now I want these two to be the same height. So I'm going to select this one as my control, Shift S, move my cursor to that location, and I'm going to turn on 3D cursor, and I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to SZ0, and now these are straight across. Are they? I might have to turn snap on. That one is at 147.26, and so is that one. Yeah, it worked. Alright, and then change this back to median. Then with these two vertices selected, hit F. Alright, and then I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm going to Control R for loop cut. 1, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and then same as we did before, we can select them all, move GZ, and we're going to create that border a little bit outside, and then I'm going to select the inside ones. See, there's different ways you can do this. Alright, that's too high. Hold my shift so I can fine tune it. There we go. And then these internal ones, and we're going to move that up. And then these three, GZ, shift, kind of get you there. And then finally this last one, GZ, and move that up. Let's do a file save. Okay. So we have the makings of our sign, the basic element of our sign, right? Okay. So now I am going to select vertices, and I'm going to select these, edges, And then I'm going to hit F to put a face on all that. All right. Extrude. Let's make that 1 foot thick. Okay. Do a file save. Okay. Now we can use this cube as a base. But first, I want to trying to think of what I want to do next. So I want to center the cube because I'm going to use that as the base. Alright, so I am going to get out of edit mode with that selected. I'm going to right click, origin set to geometry, so it's right in the middle. And then I'm going to select my cube. I'm going to shift S, select it to cursor. Oh, no, I'm not. Now let's select our object and then cursor to selected. There we go. And then select our cube and shift S, selection. There, now it's centered. All right, now we want to scale our cube in the X direction. So I'm going to make sure the cube is selected, and then I'm going to scale in the X. Skinny that up. Sorry, everybody. I didn't get to my pause fast enough. All right. Now we're going to take that cube, and we are going to, let's go ahead and, I hit the pause before I sneezed on that one. Let's turn off our picture for now. All right. And tilde R. And let's, with the cube selected, let's GZ, and let's move that down until it's on the ground. Go into edit mode and select these vertices up top, and let's GZ those. Okay. And we're going to take this whole thing and we're going to scale that in the Y. So it's like that. I guess I better move these up just a skosh. GZ. So it hides it up in there like that. Alright, let's turn off face orientation because we're good there. Turn off X-ray. So our sign will look like this, right? Now, just like our letters of our sign, we are going to, I'll join these eventually together, but for now, let's get out of edit mode and select our sign and go back into edit mode, do face select, and let's do I'm going to call one face 1, face 2. All right. So, is that what I want? No. We're good. We're good. We're going to select both of these faces. So I'm going to shift, select both, hit P, new selection, vertice 01. We're going to call this sign face, and we're going to call this sign frame, and that cube, where's my cube, we are going to call this sign base. Okay, so now all of that is Good, right? Now we need to apply the scale. So get out of here, select this cube, object, apply, scale. Select this object, object, apply, scale, and then select our is my face? There's the two faces. Oh, okay. They already are at one. Go back into layout, and we're gonna split these up to right and left, the faces. So let's go into edit mode, and let's select this one, P. So now I have two faces. I have faces and faces 01. All right, now I'm going to go into UV, faces, A. All right, so let's select, let's call this faces 2. Okay, let's call this faces 1. Okay, and let's go into faces 2, go into UV, select A, all, and then UV unwrap, and now we have it. Now I'm going to rotate this, rotate 90, and then I'm going to move it in the X. Bam. All right, now I am going to save this out. UV, export, export UV layout into the textures folder. And we're going to call this Signed Faces Template. We're going to make this 4096, whoops, 4096 by 4096. No, we're not going to make it that big. How big is my image? My image is too small for that size, so I'm going to make it 1024. Should have kept it the same, 1024. Okay, and then export that out. Okay, now we're going to go into Krita. And we're going to open our sign template, which is right here. There we go. And then we are going to layer, and we're going to import layer, and we're going to import that sign. Okay. There we go. And then I'm going to move it here. And I'm going to let me edit undo here for a second. I'm going to properties, and we are going to stretch that out. And I'm going to move it. Then I'm gonna transform properties again, and we're gonna move it this way. Then I'm gonna move it. Just gonna try to get it to match as good as I can. It can go narrower though. Drag it this way. And let's drag this down. Drag this over. And then drag this up. Just like that. We can bring this down a little bit. It's okay if we overshoot it a little bit because our image will clip it off. Alright. Okay, this white area, all this white area will be excluded from it. Alright, so let's turn off our back image. Alright. And let's do an file export. And we're going to call this sign face. Yeah, let's call this sign face. Save, export. Get out of Krita. Let's cancel. Let's save this Krita file. Save this in prototypes here. And let's call that Krita file. That way if I have to make any adjustments. Where's Krita? Oh, there it is. Sign face temp Krita, save. Alright. Let me minimize and let's open up Blender. Alright, now should be able to select signage, and I want as an before moving on, at this location under emissive color, change it from black all the way to white before you go down to select your image, or the emissive in the sim will not work. Image. I want to change the image that's being used for that to our new one, which is sign faces. There we go. And then for emissive, open textures, same file. Okay. And make sure we have day-night cycle turned on. Day-night cycle turned on. All right. Go to layout. Okay, so that's what it looks like at night. Now we need to do the same thing for this side, but we don't have to we can use the same image. All right, so I'm going to select that. Oh, I'm going to go into UV editing and hit A, period, swing around. All right, UV, sharp, okay, and rotate that minus 90, and GX, move that over this way. And then we are going to go get our signage. And there we have. Go back into layout. And now we have our sign. Now we need to color our frame. So I'm going to select that frame and we're going to use that black frame. And select this, use that black frame. Like that. Do file, save. Alright, now we can take this, let's take this, and this, and let's do a Control J, join those all together, and let's call this signage. Okay. And then come out here. Need to copy that. So let's go into edit mode. Shift. Okay. Select all. Shift D. Escape. And let's GX and slide that all the way over here to right there. And then get out of edit mode. Object, apply, scale. And then turn off our empty. And with signage selected, let's do a Shift D to copy it. And then an M and move that to LOD 01. Save. Next step is to bring it into the sim, see how it looks. Export it first. Alright, so let's turn on 01. Make sure everything's off that we don't need. All the empties are off. That's good. And let's go to multi-exporter and export. And then get out of Blender and check our model, and that is the 27th, which is today, and that's the time. So all of that should be set. So let's rebuild. Select this. If I get an error, it's because I think this, oh man, I think this is this going to be an issue? Reason I'm thinking it might be an issue is because I think I'm using a texture that is not divisible by 4. So let's go in the textures folder. I'm not sure if it's making, I don't think it's making a call for that. Alright, well, let's find out. Let's build and it'll tell me if my texture fails. my failure is going to be a texture not being divisible by 4. All right, so I'm going to take this, drop it on the package tools, and let it build, and I'll be right back. No, my build worked just fine. Even though I had textures that are in there in my textures folder that were not divisible by 4, I wasn't making a call to them, so it didn't have to try to create a what is it? What's the extension for the doohickeys? The bitmaps that it's creating? It didn't have to convert those textures into flight sim format, so because I wasn't making a call to them. Okay, we are in the sim. We have our Fairfield Inn sign showing up on our building, so our build worked just fine. Got it on the stone wall, and I have my 2 street signs for Fairfield Inn showing up relatively where they're supposed to. Just so you know, the area photo that I used as a reference in Blender is from a highly accurate geographic information system source, Franklin County GIS department. And their area photography has to be, for their use, has to be sub-centimeter resolution, or not resolution, accuracy, all right, on the Earth's surface, because they use it for tax assessment, all right, so they're required by law, all right. Now, Asobo is not using this highly accurate imagery worldwide. First of all, it's too expensive, it's too big. They would never be able to fit that high resolution data on their model. It's impossible. They use Bing, obviously. Some of you guys might have the Google add-on, which I don't do it because I want pure MSFS. I don't want any other add-ons affecting the scenery that I create. But you need to know that the accuracy between the data that I was using and the positional accuracy of Asobo's imagery and their map projection that they use is about 1 to 2 meter difference in the north-south orientation. Okay, what that means is if I bring in a high accurate area photography of this area, it's going to be, when I bring it into the sim, it's going to be stretched a little bit to the north and south because of the map projection that's being used in Asobo. The reason I know this is because professionally, that's what I do. I'm a cartographer. All right, I make maps. I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm a satellite imagery analysis expert, so to speak. I got to use that term because that's what my profession is. All right, but the accuracy that you're going to get if you use a highly accurate surveyed image like I did for this area of the airport, when you bring it into the sim from Blender, you're going to be off. And if you look down here, see this sign right down here? I'm about a meter off of where it's supposed to be. Okay? So, it's not a big deal. All you need to do is see how far off that is, and then just move that object in Blender, re-export it, and it will put it right where you need it. Okay? Now, we're in the sim to test our lighting, okay, of our signs. So simply, we're just going to go to options, and we're going to move our slider to nighttime and see how our signs look at night. The Fairfield Inns and Suite Marriott looks fine. We can zoom in here or scoot in. It looks good. It looks like it would if we were driving up to the hotel, but we want to check those emissive textures on our sign, on our street signs. All right, so we're going to look at this one. Haha, they are illuminating, so that's good. This one you really can't tell because there is a street light right here that's, I can tell that this is being illuminated by a light. Okay, so this whole area is lit. That's why it doesn't look as dramatic as this one that's sitting over here in the dark. All right, but our emissive texture is working. I can kind of see it a little better there. See these floating lights? Okay, yeah. So we have our street signs. That's awesome. Okay, so from now on, we're going to be inside the sim. And just so you know, I do ground textures on my airport layer, on airport file. I use aprons a lot to cover up a lot of imagery and stuff like that that I don't want to see. So what I'm going to be doing from now on is this model lib, the buildings file or the buildings project, the KCMH BLDG package. I'm going to load this into the community folder, and then I'm going to take the actual airport out of the community folder, and I'm going to be working on the airport package. Okay, because Columbus, Ohio, I have 3 packages for this particular airport. I have the buildings in one, I have the airport in another, and then I have some historical objects such as old airplanes and stuff in the historical part of the airport. All right, so I have 3 packages that make up this airport. Okay, so I'm going to take the buildings, put it in the community folder. I'm going to take the airport itself out that has the runways, the taxiways, and all, and the aprons and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to take that out of the community folder, and I'm going to be editing that in the sim to do the scenery around the building. Okay, so hey, thanks for watching. This part 16 was in 2 parts because it was a long process for me to do. So we'll get this part B that we're looking at right now, and we will come back to part 17, and we should be in the sim working on some scenery around this hotel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I know that this is a standard thing that people do not subscribe to channels, but I would ask for your support if that would be great, and hit that notification bell for upcoming videos. And if you feel inclined, you can support me by buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. And these models will be I will be uploading these to Gumroad, myphysicalworld.gumroad.com. And these models will be free, and you can do whatever you want with them. I just ask that you don't sell them. I'm giving them to you free, and I would hope that you guys would pay it forward by any changes that you make to these models. Give them away free as well. But anyway, you guys have a fantastic rest of the week, and I will see you in part 17. See you later.